Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Wednesday at 11:43 a.m. It's a wonderful day. Got the Bitcoin stuff going down here in Miami. I wish I have time. I believe I will coordinate and see what I could do for an evening pass through. I'm about 30 something minutes, give or take, from Miami, and it's quite tempting. I obviously, if I head down that way, I'll post on Twitter, and everyone will know. But for now, obviously, I was able to carve out a little bit late today, some time for the stream. I'm swamped, being pulled in a bunch of directions. But as I say, no, I say we could do better, but I also say all we could do is the best we can do. Dr. T's in the house. Igor, Dean, Josh, always a pleasure. Horizontal price action, cash versus assets. I don't know about the second part of the title today. I whip up these titles in about 5 seconds before the stream. But the horizontal price action is probably what's most interesting. And also, what I mentioned on Twitter when I posted the stream, I think about these markets in a binary fashion, at least nowadays. And there's two real ways to approach the balance sheet when talking about it from the binary perspective that I'm speaking of. Let's dig in. Today's episode is sponsored by Change Angel, the non-custodial swap exchange for social goods. Stop depositing on exchanges, not your keys, not your crypto, non-custodial DeFi, or nothing at all. Bam, let's pop it over to the main screen and see who's in the stream. Hey, it's Montana's in the house. Always a pleasure. So I got Bitcoin US dollar denominated, and I keep Ethereum US dollar denominated as well. So what's very obvious here, it's a flag. It's a bear flag in all regards. If you look on Bitcoin as well, that's a pretty big bear flag. But where are we in the bear flag? So we're trending horizontally in most regards. So we have one drive down, up, two drives down, up. We could easily expect a third drive down and resistance here. So I've been playing around with this SAN-R platform, thrown in a couple of bids. It's just for uh, uh, prediction purposes. It's not for, there's no gains to be made, but it's something that I could track whether my capacity to look at technicals is rational at all, and gather whether the results are actually heading in the right direction. I don't There's no betting involved for me, but I like this platform. It's quite interesting to play around with. Sanr.sentiment.net. So the same thing for Ethereum. One drive down, two drives down. We're at resistance again. Maybe we see a third drive down and then a breach of resistance. And that's basically the bet I put in here, expecting that third drive down to support. Whether this bear flag breaks down or up, we don't know. We will see. But in the end, what I like to think of is one, my binary perspective on the markets, and two, a long time horizon. You know, you roll the clock forward 4 years. We know that Bitcoin appreciates at 200% annually over the last 10 years. That's a heck of an annualized return, and we could expect Ethereum to follow suit, and everything else, literally just everything else, must be categorized with an increased risk profile. And the story's changing. The narratives are incredible. The way I talk about certain assets other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, and some of them will follow along. Some of them, the narrative is unfolding literally on a daily basis. Extraordinary what's playing out. And you guys know the three macro narratives that I'm talking about. You have Ethereum as a global monetary network. You have the China narrative with the BSN and those networks and the digital yuan and the networks that are plugged into the BSN. You now have the India narrative, which is probably the narrative I'm most bullish on because of the culture, the personalities, the amount of talent and skilled workers is extraordinary. There's probably more Indian engineers and software devs than there is an entire working population in all of the United States. It's such a massive population in India, and these kids going to university and not even necessarily going to university, but they're hungry and they're smart. I've worked with a lot of them over the years, particularly at American Express back in the day. Um, and so that narrative's probably got me uh, caught my attention the most. So you could have a wonderful global financial system on Ethereum, which is the DeFi space that we're interacting with at the L1 level, and Arbitrum is sorely needed. Um, that is going to be a blessing because it is expensive. At 20 Gwei last night, I cranked out like $800 worth of transactions. Merely just I was pulling together all my loose change, everything that I could find. Everything's gone. I did manage to convince myself to retain that small visor position, but everything else, it's all gone. Everything's gone. I consolidated everything into curve, almost doubled my curve position. As you can see, my convex tab up here. So that is where all the curve went. It's cranking out like 120% yield, which is extraordinary. Um, I'm quite uh, pleased with the approach that Convex has taken compared to urine. I love the curve, CRV, and CVX emissions rather than compounding because I believe over the coming years that those assets will asymmetrically appreciate. Now, they're going to be volatile, but they're so seriously meaningful with regard to monetary policy and ingrained in the DeFi space as a critical functional component. I mean, in many regards, the current monetary policy is one of the superior, if not the best, monetary policies in the entire DeFi space, in my opinion. Let me go over some comments. I'll go back to some more charts. Um, John's in the house. Grant, while back, I commented on my IRA being 100% allocated to ETH from $400. Thank you for the smart words on Brisk early May and how I could allocate my capital better. Now, I'm actually much more bullish on Ethereum than Bitcoin, and that's aside from the narrative, from a technical perspective. Ethereum is significantly outperforming Bitcoin. It was in a very large symmetrical triangle that went one drive down, and the second drive down smacked into the 200 SMA in the 4 hour, and it literally just breached to the upside above the 100 SMA, and it's sitting above the 50 SMA, and you actually have a 50 SMA cross of the 100 SMA in the 4 hour. Ethereum is significantly outperforming Bitcoin. Now, this is to no discredit of the Bitcoin narrative as a store of value. You give Bitcoin another 4 years, and we pretty much know where it's going to be. The price will be more than it is today. In 8 years, it's going to be significantly more than it is today. So that is a great place to store value. And you could obviously argue that Ethereum, as Bankless HQ obviously talks about, is an incredible place to store value as well. And that's a whole nother topic. The storage of value, whether Bitcoin or Ethereum or some other asset, is best suited for the task. So even if you have two incredible value storage assets, Ethereum and Bitcoin, there's probably still logic and reason to deploy capital to the underperforming asset. I expect Bitcoin to underperform and possibly underperform even Ethereum in the store of value narrative. But that just goes into portfolio weighting and your portfolio balance. It should not neglect exposure to Bitcoin. Um, I myself am heavily skewed towards Ethereum. I have a relatively small Bitcoin position because I expect Ethereum to significantly outperform. At some point, I'll probably trim profits to the predominant value storage vehicle, which is Bitcoin. But I'm going to wait for these outperforming assets to continue to outperform. The optimal way to grow a portfolio is to transfer value from underperforming assets to outperforming assets. And this goes into my binary view of the markets. So when the market's hot is when you're protective. The market's hot is when you're trimming to cash on the balance sheet. Principal, not just debt. You want to accumulate cash, and I would argue Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has depreciated. We'd have to look at the charts, but an outperformance works both ways. My point being, if Bitcoin depreciated less than other assets percentage-wise, we'd have to invert the charts. Bitcoin denominated in Ethereum. Huh? What does that even mean? Who looks at that? Bitcoin denominated in Matic. What does that even mean? Talk about a contrarian ideology. So you really got to get a sense of what is outperforming. But when the markets are hot, you're trimming profits into cash and possibly Bitcoin. So I'm not saying for certain, and it depends on the market conditions, gut instinct on the market. But cash is a no-brainer. So right now, I basically have no cash on the balance sheet. This is, in my mind, the binary options period where everything is deployed. Sure, we could have volatility to the downside, but there is no irrational exuberance going on. This is the time, in my mind, to deploy all cash. Clearly, I have a large amount of cash on the balance sheet in the form of debt, and as a business operator, the total amount of cash on the balance sheet is a combination of principal and debt being deployed as net working capital. And so that's where I am at in the market. The day before the crash on that Wednesday, I had like 55, 60% portfolio in cash, and I was deploying on the way down. I was able to protect a large amount of capital, but net result, there's a lot I learned in hindsight from how that played out. And next time we will handle it better. I will hold the cash and wait for the irrational exuberance to subside. That is what I learned. You don't deploy cash when there's irrationality going on in the market. This, right now, in this trending region, you wait for a trend formation. This is the time to deploy cash. What a wonderful horizontal, slow price action trend region. This would have been a wonderful time to deploy cash, not when the market is doing crazy stuff by tens and 20s of percent. I mean, this is just a wonderful chart. Look at this consolidation region. Look, it consolidated here from January. The entire month of January was a consolidation region. And very similar here. The 20th of May. It's a good 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks thus far. So we can expect continued consolidation, but ultimately this trend, if it breaches to the upside, that's going to cause market participants to enter really quick. And that's where you have breakouts, and that's where you have like a $2,000 rip to the upside. Anyway, let's keep it going. Wave mappers, always a pleasure, Ryan. John, have you checked out Convex Finance recently? John, Convex, I have consolidated all spare change. I probably could have held on to some things if I wanted the risk appetite, or I could I could deal with the risk profile of certain assets. But yeah, I converted almost everything I could find on Ethereum that was lingering and remaining into Curve and put it on Convex. Otherwise, I mean, I'm probably like 80% capital deployed on Polygon at this point. The Indian narrative is really the most incredible narrative I could think of right now. I still have capital deployed to the China narrative vis-a-vis Polkadot and Cosmos. Obviously, the Ethereum narrative with a solid Ethereum position. But though that's what I see playing out over the coming months and obviously the coming years, but things at such a long time horizon, narratives change quite meaningfully. Overall, I think I have a decent capital deployment currently. Generating, I mean, Aave on Polygon is generating 10%, give or take, a little bit plus at times, a little bit minus on Matic. Oh my God, that's such an incredible number. Um, I, I I find it disconcerting and worrisome, seeking out even further pronounced yields when that's an extraordinary number, because not only is it 10%, it's 10% on an asset that is quite likely to asymmetrically appreciate. So you're accumulating just and compounding a huge amount of capital. And you don't need those hundreds of percent. You don't need to take on that risk of additional smart contracts and platforms that don't haven't been tested by scale and consumption. I mean, Curve is tested at this point, and I find it comforting that Convex is blessed by the Curve team. I'm inclined to think, and I speculate, that Curve probably took a peek at the contracts, and I love that where Curve is heading as compared to the Urn approach of compounding. Albeit, I do not discount Urn as one of the most critical financial products in the DeFi space. I just happen to have a fancy for the quite different presentation and a financial opportunity that Convex provides. So I mean, Convex has been going up and CVX has been appreciating significantly. Not even looking at the charts, but pretty incredible. Um, Hit some comments. Time horizon should be the basis of everyone's personal narrative. Time horizon is everything. What is the time horizon of the market right now? Short term, something is going to happen within the next. I mean, this is the trend. This is the prevailing trend. We're on the daily. You're talking about it less than a week. Um, Date range. You talk about less than a week. If it gets to the tip of this compression, I'd be quite surprised. But by the end of the week, like Saturday, maybe Sunday, this weekend, we're going to see the market either break out or break down. And Bitcoin will drive that market action for our chosen assets. This is a nice rip to $1.87 right now. Um, I mean, even this chart is incredible. This is just a massive, massive trend formation. And this is what I would say it is. And if Bitcoin denominated, if Ethereum denominated in Bitcoin has anything to say about this volatile dip to the downside, that there was only one. It looks actually eerily comparable, which is interesting because that's dollar denominated Matic. So with Bitcoin, you had the massive risk off where it drove it all the way down to support. You had the rip up, one rip down, and then it broke out. And one rip down, up to resistance. There's I don't have the guppies enabled. Let's turn on the guppies. There's probably a support line right about there, and I wouldn't be surprised. And watch it rip out. But there's a nice structural analogy to be seen looking at Matic USDT versus ETH which is interesting. Down, up, support, and then the breakout. Down, up, support, and then the potential breakout speculatively. So that's where so that's something that catches my eye. I don't see anything bearish in these markets. Better said, I don't see anything that would want me to not participate in these markets. There's literally nothing I see in these charts that would make me want to hold cash on the as principal right now. I want the cash exposed to assets. I want to take on debt in the form of cash. Currently, I'm actually taking on debt in the form of Matic because that changes everything really when you have no impermanent loss for borrowed assets. So I can borrow cash and deploy that cash probably on Curve for X amount of yield. I just wanted the consolidated presentation that Aave offers. So I'm borrowing Matic and just deploying it into Aave directly, and it's getting 10% yield. And it's a consolidated place that I can manage my cash. It's a bank. So I'm opting for less yield in favor of a simplified portfolio management capability, which is interesting. You don't have to make as much money as possible. What you need is to be able to manage your capital and not have it overwhelming. And you really need to simplify things. Um, Missed a couple. Sonny's in the house. Good morning. Me, hungry and hardworking. We are in the West too. Soft, too comfortable. Yeah, I have jobs up the wazoo. I work 16 hours a day. There's a lot of people that are soft, and that's unfortunate because there's immense opportunity out there. The time is now. Felipe, Eth 2.0 delayed till 2022. Change anything? I don't expect Eth 2.0 to be released at all. I expect Ethereum 1.5 and done. And that'll be them retrenching into the base functionality of Ethereum, which is security and speed, and the L2s are going to take center stage. Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK, and Polygon is just a much larger perspective on things as compared to any of those L2s. So Polygon's going to have L2 functionality that developers will be able to deploy directly on Ethereum L1. And obviously, Polygon also has its POS, which still uses Ethereum L1 as a consensus mechanism, as a store of data, as the source of truth. So it all comes together into a very big picture of Ethereum 1.5 and done. It's June. I'm expecting some serious activity this summer. There's just way too much opportunity, and the thing that I point to the most as to substantiate what I see as incoming immense activity is Aave has $21 billion worth of capital as of last night, and that's in the face of massive, massive depreciation of assets. So a 40% depreciation of assets, yet they have the same all-time high in capital, TVL, total value locked on the platform. That's extraordinary. That's a massive inflow of assets. Uh, that's capital and that's equity that has not left the system. And that capital and equity is going to be deployed. Debt's going to be taken on that capital, which is the creation of money, considering double entry bookkeeping practices. Um, Absolutely fascinating how much capital is on Avi. That means everything, in my opinion. Powder Monkey's in the house. It's okay. There's always the record button, and you could roll the tape back. Grant, make the argument for or against DCA or lump sum thoughts. Man, I haven't put capital into this space in a long time. It's not a it's a hard argument because if you do lump sum, you could face depreciation in the short term. Listen, my recommendation is lump sum at a strategic time. And what is that strategic time? Pretty much trend resistance being broken to the upside, a retest, and a higher high. When you have resistance, the retest, and then the higher high, you have bullish confluence. That's the trifecta of bullish confluence, and that is an opportune time to deploy cash. Now, keep in mind that means you're going to be buying after significant appreciation. For instance, this is Matic USDT, and if you followed that methodology, you're buying it over $2, and it's at $1.80. It'd be even over $2, probably like 2.30, and you'd be able to see a breakout, a retest, and a higher high. So I don't have easy answers to that, and there's very no easy answer how to deploy capital the best. DCA works well as also, so you don't have to wait for the breakout for DCA. That means you're just buying 1%, 1%, 1%. It goes up 1%, it goes down 1%, and you're accumulating a position. So that's a very subjective choice that we all have, and that is something we all deal with. I have not used the Bitfi wallet, did you? I have not. Thoughts on this cycle? Could be a super cycle, 6 years instead of 4. I know that I could put capital to work if this is a bear market or a bull market. I don't care about cycles anymore. And what I care about is the fact that Aave has such capitalization with a significant move to the downside, and I believe this time is different. I believe this is a functional financial system on Ethereum L1. I think the L2s are going to completely light Ethereum on fire. I think Polygon is going to be extraordinary considering the India narrative. I think Cosmos and Polkadot are going to come out swinging with the BSN and the China narrative and the digital yuan coming online in the next 1, 2, 3 years. I think we're in the early stages of a systemic transformation, and it's going to have nothing to do with adoption of the status quo and the legacy money. It's going to come because capital is just going to keep flowing in. Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. So the good money is going into this system. And this is going to have monetary velocity because of the lending and the borrowing and the double entry accounting. And the velocity is going to just scream opportunity, scream the opportunity. And that's going to keep drawing in capital and drawing in capital and drawing in capital. And that's going to draw in developers. That's going to build. They're going to be building products and services. And that's going to draw in capital. And it's just not going to stop. That's what I see. This is the place that I want my capital to be. Killis is in the house. Always a pleasure. Michael K. Morning, sir. Do you talk on regular on DeFi? Do you see TradFi waiting for reg certainty before participating in DeFi? I do have regular on DeFi. Everything we've talked about thus far today is DeFi, and everything I talk about almost every day is DeFi. The balance sheet, principal, debt, working capital, yield. You got to put your assets to work. If you don't have assets, if every asset in your portfolio is not working, you're missing out on the biggest opportunity that I see in all financial systems. Regulatory uncertainty is going to prevent legacy finance from deploying their capital. Regulatory uncertainty and encouraging people to not engage with these markets is a massive, massive opportunity cost. And I would argue that it is better to deploy the capital, operate the business, and then as regulation comes, you're able to traverse it and navigate it. So regulation should not be inhibitory because whenever it comes, you'll be able to traverse it. And not participating in the market because of potential regulation is just a massive opportunity cost. And that's probably the best thing I could say on the matter. Dr. T, are you holding Matic mainly as debt right now, also as principal or collateral? The vast majority of my portfolio is in Matic at the moment. It's got to be like 65% of my entire portfolio is in Matic. Um, and I've taken on a huge amount of debt denominated in Matic, but the borrowed Matic is kept in Matic. So it's not like I'm not longing nor am I shorting. I'm just capitalizing on the 10% interest that Aave provides on Matic. And I'm just accumulating Matic. That's where my mindset is. Um, it doesn't have to be everyone's mindset, and everyone has to come to their own subjective conclusions about how best to deploy their capital. But for me, that's where I see the best opportunity right now. I can't get over the Indian narrative. I've just worked with too many Indian folks to understand the mentality of what's likely occurring in the minds of countless millions of people in the country right now. They're watching three brilliant boys who put together a protocol, built a project, created a financial empire at this point, and at this point, they're looked on probably as heroes for building something incredible. And you can, I don't know, I can't speak to everyone's individual age, but if you're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you're coming out of high school and university in India, what these three boys did, it's a dream. And I could just see countless millions of people in the country right now just thinking about what to build. And sure, they could have built it on Ethereum, and a lot of them did. But this is different because now you have a hero or the hero concept, the hero ideology, and that's meaningful. So that's why I cannot get off the idea. I think it's the strongest idea right now in the crypto space. Um, Ryan Palmer, Market Cipher, which I use for TA showing money flow back to Ethereum, looks bullish in my opinion. Screenshot in your Discord TA channel if you want to take a peek. Yeah, man, I'm going to take a peek. Capital flow is just huge onto into Aave. So, as much as we could get on-chain data and it's very meaningful, I see these things anecdotally. Then that speaks volumes to me. That's it. It's right there in Aave. And if you want to see how much monetary velocity is, watch the debt. Look at how much debt is borrowed against the amount of collateral that's available on Aave. And look at the interest rates on Aave V2. If the interest rates for short-term debt or the variable debt is high, that you could just look at those, and you'll know that there's a lot being borrowed, and that's that's representative of how much velocity of capital is occurring. Now we're just coming off a massive deflationary event. We're having this wonderful horizontal price action, and all I did was see the capital stabilize. The bank, the capital flow into the bank, the crypto bank, stabilize and increase in the face of risk and uncertainty. Capital no longer needs to exit the DeFi space. What it's going to do is just sit idle and wait to be deployed opportunistically. Everything is different. It really is. Layer 1F fork is coming real quick. Pulse chain. Yeah, it's just not on my radar. There's plenty of Ethereum I mean, look, you got BSC, which is an EVM compatible network. If you want to talk about something that I'm interested in, I think there's a lot of potential with Elrond. Elrond is much further advanced than Cardano. I'm interested in Cardano. I just know that it has a massive, massive time horizon to even remotely be possible to catch up to the existing digital financial infrastructures. Solana is on the radar. Um, Phantom is very much on the radar if they get a money market. So his eyes on for the same telltale signs: capital inflow, critical mass liquidity, the developer activity, and then the users creating the monetary velocity. But what Phantom is sorely missing is a money market. So if Aave deployed on Phantom, bam, that's all it needs. Aave's everything. Aave creates financial systems at this point. It's a base layer money market. So if you have a base layer money market, you need a forex market and you need market making opportunity. So all that exists on Polygon at this point. The forex market's deployed on Phantom. Solana has all this, but it's not receiving the capital inflow, so it doesn't have the critical mass liquidity. Elrond's another story. It's a wild card. I wish I had Elrond back when it was pennies. That I consider that the bag that got away. Cardano is completely off my radar. It has no critical mass liquidity. It has no money markets. It has no market makers, no automated market makers, no exchanges. It has no infrastructure. Nothing has been deployed. Um, and it's already worth a fortune. So there's literally not even a place to put the capital speculatively. Like it has the, if it was like 50 cents or 10 cents, yeah, sure, plenty of people got in at that price point, but it was even more speculative then. There was literally no reason whatsoever to logically take a position in the asset. And to this day, there's still no rational reason to take an interest in the asset other than speculation. And that is what I don't do. I don't speculate. I look at the properties of these financial systems and I'm speculating on merely continued growth. So I'm not speculating that an asset is going to become something. I'm looking at only assets that are currently something. And I'm speculating that they will just keep doing what they're doing. So when I look at startups and business enterprise, that's what every investor wants to see. They want to see growth, strength, new users, more money, more capital flow, products in the pipeline. And that's what we see on on the protocols that we're looking at. Regulation, rules, compliance, AML, not regular. Yeah, I understand, Michael. It's all good. But yep. Mimi, sorry, I'm a few minutes behind and was referring to the incredible talent that is coming from India. Yeah, that is. I am so excited about that notion, that sentence. That sentence is everything. Just getting a set, just thinking about the mentality and the passion and the hardworking kids that I've worked with over the years, and I remember their names. The opportunity is just incredible for what they could build compared to just day to day working for peanuts, for pennies, dollars, and tiny amounts of money when they could. And now they see the 3 brilliant kids who built Polygon, and man, that's going to light a fire. That's just going to light a goddamn fire of developers that are just going to deploy on their national digital financial system, which is Polygon, because it's theirs. That means that's what I'm where my mind is at. Michael, CBDCs are coming predominantly. Uh, they're coming fast. China's digital yuan is coming fast for a major multinational corporation. Major, one of the largest countries in the world, and their digital currency is coming quick. And did you know the Bahamas operates in a they already converted to CBDC? Uh, Everyone's going to be converting because there's too much power when you could control the money supply. Ryan, you mentioned Cardano, Elrond, Solana, Phantom. How about Avalanche? Yes, Avalanche too. Anything that's a financial system. So the difference was back in like 2017, 2018. I'm going to end on this topic. There was the whole Ethereum killers, and that narrative has evolved. It's not Ethereum killers. The narrative has changed into financial systems. And all we have to do is look for critical mass, components, or properties, attributes of a functional financial system. And I saw this because I started to look into macroeconomic financials and how the legacy financial systems work. You find a financial system with critical mass liquidity, the developer activity, and emergent monetary velocity, and it's just going to just keep going. It's just going to keep growing. So we saw that with Ethereum, DeFi Summer 2020. We saw exactly that happen with Binance Smart Chain. We have seen that happen with Polygon, and we will see that with another either EVM compatible chain, maybe it's Cardano, but I will not allocate capital until I see critical mass liquidity and the emergent monetary velocity. So you need the money market, you need the debt markets, you need the exchanges, the automated market makers, and you need the capacity to establish a business operation. And that is the deal, Ryan. All right, let's wrap it up. 12:18 p.m. on a Wednesday, June 2nd. Is a Bitcoin conference day down in Miami, Florida. I'll see what I can do there. But otherwise, it's always a pleasure. The Discord forum is the best place for us to keep together. We have a blast in there all day long trying to understand these markets, trying to figure them out, and try to make better decisions. Because in the end, after what we've experienced over the last couple of weeks, everyone who hears these words knows we can assuredly do better. And the next time we get the opportunity, I'm sure we will do things slightly differently. So until next time, thank you everyone for joining. As always, best time of my day. Tell everyone to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.